going to terrify you. There are more houses on the market right now than there have ever been in the last 10 years.
Housing has become a major problem in the UK.
I want to know why the government thinks I owe immigrants money. I work, I contribute, and I can't even afford to take my children camping.
Young people are delaying families and careers because of unaffordable rents. They also can't take risks, for example, to set up their own businesses. And they most certainly can't afford more than one child if they have one at all.
So how many of y'all made it to 40 with kids, but no grandkids?
I don't know if anyone else is sick of being a worker and not getting anywhere, but I decided to do some research and I looked into the house prices, the economy and the wages from 1900s until now.
So how many of y'all made it to 40 with kids, but no grandkids?
So here's how you can tell if somebody cannot afford the car that they are driving.
So how many of y'all made it to 40 with kids, but no grandkids?
This could be one of the biggest crashes in history. Yet people still say, what are you talking about? It's not that bad. Not that bad. Really? Let's break it down. So, for the first time in decades, renting actually costs you more than owning. Rents are higher than mortgages. The average rent has gone up over 21% in just 3 years. Renters now spend 34% of their income just to keep a roof over their head. Over 30 years, renting now costs more than £206,000 more than owning. And in London, it's 540 grand. £500,000 just for the privilege of not owning your home. Meanwhile, prime central London has fallen off a cliff. Mayfair has crashed by 40%. Kensington, Chelsea, down by 15% in just 12 months. Prices are actually back to 2013 levels. Foreign buyers are leaving in droves. 3 of the UK's richest billionaires have already quit the country. Stamp duty is between 5 and 12%. 14.5% if you're a foreigner. The non-dom regime, well, that's gone. And crime, political chaos, don't get me started. So when I hear people say it's not really that bad, I honestly wonder what planet they're living on. And there's another line I hear all of the time. Property's had its day. Really? Tell that to Lloyds, who announced plans to become the biggest private landlord in the UK. Tell that to BlackRock, who are hoovering up entire blocks and streets of housing. If property was done, why would the world's smartest money still be piling in? And piling in a big way. They know.
Welcome back to Blighty Blighted. Right, you know we get to the bottom of the bull here. I was just looking at house prices, well, trying to. I thought it was the lottery results at first. £500,000 for a 2-bed flat with a view of the neighbours' bins. It's gone absolutely mad, hasn't it? Used to be you could buy a home on a normal wage, raise a family, maybe even go on holiday once in a while. You can't say fairer than that. But now, unless you're on a 6-figure salary or have rich parents, you're lucky if you can rent a shed with Wi-Fi. And renting's no better. They want your life story, 3 references, and half your organs for a deposit. Then they put the rent up every 6 months and call it market adjustment. Market adjustment. My backside. It's daylight robbery with paperwork. They keep saying it's only the poor struggling. Nonsense. The middle class can't breathe either. Everyone's working harder and getting less. Feels like you need to be on 100k a year just to live like a normal person used to. Not rich, not flashy, just comfortable.
£1,000 a month in extra income with just 5 to 10 hours a week, extra work, so a guaranteed 10 grand. Would you find the time? Of course you would. But here's the thing, if you're renting, your landlord's already finding the time. They're using your rent to pay their mortgage. And if you're sitting on savings, inflation's eating it alive, while your debt if you had any good debt, would actually be shrinking. And if you're doing nothing, waiting for the perfect time, wait until you've saved up, wait until the news headlines say now's the time, well, you're not going to do anything, because by the time the papers report the bottom, the market's already going to be climbing. By the time you've saved up enough money, the market will have evolved and you will need even more money to get started. Let's look back at the 2008 financial crisis. While most people were panicking, smart money was buying. Smart money bought cheap. They held on, and by 2013 they were sitting on huge gains while everyone else was too scared. History just doesn't rhyme, it repeats. And here's something you probably haven't thought about. When fewer people move, the housing ladder clogs up. That means fewer homes come to the market, stock dries up, supply tightens, and what happens when supply tightens? Well, rents go up, and they go up even more. And what happens when supply tightens? Rents go up, and prices eventually follow too. So ironically, the crash that's meant to make housing more affordable will actually push affordability further out of reach for ordinary people. Because while the middle class waits and worries, institutions move in. You know, banks, hedge funds, pension funds. They're not scared, they're smart, they're educated, they know what they're doing. They're buying thousands of properties at a time, not just one or two. And once they own everything, well, you're never going to be able to compete. Now, let me make this real for you. If you're renting today, you're already on the wrong side of this. Imagine paying £1,500 a month rent. That's 18 grand a year over 10 years. That's 180 grand. Gone. Handed over to someone else. And at the same time, your landlord's mortgage debt is shrinking in real terms. You're literally paying to make someone else wealthy. And here's the kicker. This is happening all while inflation devalues cash. So if you're sitting on, you know, a very proud 10 to 20 grand in the bank, guess what? It's shrinking every day in real terms. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's losing buying power because prices are rising. So what you can get today for 100 grand, this time next year you'll get a lot less. Not just a little bit less, a lot less. So if all you do is keep that 100 grand in the bank, or that 10 grand or that 20 grand in the bank, this time next year it's going to buy you a lot less. And you've not even had to touch it, it's just happened. But that same amount of money, let's say that same 20 grand, if it's leveraged into a deposit for a property, suddenly you've got a real asset that rises with inflation and pays you monthly income. That's the difference between waiting and acting. So when people say, I'll just wait and see what happens, I just shake my head. Because what happens is always the same. Fearful wait, the wealthy act, and the gap between them gets wider. And this is the truth that no one tells you. Government doesn't want you to win. The media, well, they don't want you to win. Banks definitely don't want you to win. Because if you stay scared, if you keep waiting, if you keep renting, if you keep saving your money instead of investing, they make money and you don't.
And the results were so shocking. First, let's take it back to the 1900s. So in 1910 to 1920, the wages was 10p an hour, which would work out to be about £1 to £2 a week people would make. And the price of a house was £200 to £400, which means that it was possible if you saved every penny. And it took 2 to 4 years. Let's take it to 1950s, just after the war. So the wages were £5 to £10 a week, and to buy a house it was £1,800 to £2,000, and it would take 3 to 5 years of your wages. So as you can see, house prices grew with income. Let's take it to the 1970s. So in the 1970s, wages were 30 to £40 a week, and people was able to buy properties for 4 to 5 grand. Oh, yet again, it was only 3 to 5 years of your wages. On top of that, from the 1900s to nearly the 2000s in this country, we was able to work, strive and get homes. Fast forward to today, where the average income is supposed to be 35 grand. But let's face it, how many people are working 0-hour contract jobs? How many people are working part-time, national living wage jobs? Not many people are meeting a 35 grand a year. But either way, to buy a home in this country, we have to meet 280 to 300 grand, which is nearly 10 years worth of your wages. And do you know what the sickest thing is? If house prices rise in line with inflation, then we would only be paying 60 grand today for houses. Like, that's how it should be if it was following history, but it's not. And all this has just started since the 20th century, so we can fix it.
This is a real cost to society, a human cost, uncounted, but real nonetheless. Britain's economy is now shackled to its property addiction, or the property addiction of its middle class. And what we know is that all Ponzi schemes, like our housing bubble, because housing bubble it is, will be dependent upon new entrants into the market. That has always been true. As long as more and more people arrived into the market because of an expanding population, and we have had an expanding population, or because people moved out of rent and into home ownership, there was always going to be a continuing bubble, and that's what we've seen for 40 plus years. But now that situation is changing. People now can't afford to buy. The average age of a new homeowner is rising significantly, and interest rate risks are exposing the fragility of this whole model, and some people are questioning why stay in home ownership. They're actually quitting, whilst the declining buy-to-let market is also dumping property onto the market. The fact is that the housing market has reached the point where its survival on the basis of faith, and that is the only reason why prices have remained high, let's be clear about it, is at risk. Fundamentals say that there is no value in the housing market at the level that current prices are being charged at. There are a declining number of buyers and a declining number of people looking to invest in buy-to-let properties.
That's a comment from my post yesterday, and I think it sums up everything I was saying yesterday, and it sums up the situation that this country is in right now.
House prices in real terms are down 17% since September 2022. Now, why is that scary? Why is that terrifying? It's because there is a narrative right now that says that house prices are too expensive, that they're unaffordable, that who can afford them? But if house prices are as low as they were since 2003, once you adjust for inflation, and if we've got more housing on the market than we've had in 10 years, it tells you that houses should be more affordable than ever. But if we still can't afford houses, what does that say about the value and the income that we're generating? The truth is, my friends, that house prices are not going up, right? They've been flatlining for a long time. They've capped out because the average British worker can no longer afford them, even when they combine salaries with their spouse. What's really happening is that we are now post the neo-colonial era. For the last 75 years, we have benefited off the backs of people working for £1 a day in developing nations. And that's why we've now seen a 44% increase in salaries in Poland since 2017. The Vietnamese have seen a 66% increase in salaries over the last 10 years. Yet the British workers only seen 0.1% growth since 2017 in the average salary. So if all of our contemporaries in developing nations, their salaries are increasing 100 times the rate as yours, guess what? The cost of everything they produce goes up. And so those clothes that you buy, the food that you buy, everything that we source from abroad, those workers who used to produce it for us for £1 a day, $1 a day, they don't want to do that anymore. So the cost gets passed on to you. This is the effect of being in a weakening UK economy relative to everybody else. That is why everything feels so expensive. That is why everyone thinks that house prices are going up, but really what's happening is that your salary and income is being devalued and house prices are staying pretty stagnant.
And lots of other places around the world. I remember when it changed, and it was shocking. Once upon a time, houses were affordable to pretty much everybody. My brother was a building society manager, and he told me once that there was a reason why a building society would lend you 3 times your earnings, because that was an affordable amount for a mortgage. And the reason it was 3 times your earning is because when you've paid your mortgage, the calculations worked out that a third of your income would pay your mortgage, a third of your income would cover the cost of actually running your house, so that's all your bills and everything associated with living, and a third was for yourself to have a good time. And then all of a sudden, we were told that property was an investment. Now, when I was a young lad, my first property cost me £55,000 for a 3-bedroom house, and I earned about 20. That's a pretty decent percentage. Now, I looked around this area a little while ago to find out what the average cost ratio between a property and earnings was, and it was 17 times. How is that realistic? How does that make it affordable? We're stuck in a trap here, and how do you get out of a trap like that? That's a big problem. It's not something we can solve individually, but it's probably something we can work on collectively.
How the fuck are people still surviving? I made a video about this about a year ago saying how the fuck does the normal family survive with the cost of everything? Well, new figures came out yesterday. The average rent in the UK now is £1,400 a month. So, you've got to earn just over £15,000 a year after tax just for your rent. That doesn't include household bills, gas, electric, mortgage, council tax. It doesn't include food. Doesn't include your Sky, your internet, your mobile phone. Doesn't include petrol for your car. Doesn't include tax for your car. Doesn't include insurance. So realistically, if you're not earning 50 grand a year, you ain't surviving. Well, you're certainly not thriving. So my question is, how the fuck are people still affording to live? Council tax goes up every year. Gas and electric goes up every year. Inflation goes up every year. People's mortgages are going up. How is this a thing? How is the average rent £1,400 a month? I'm flabbergasted. Fucking broken Britain. There's going to be nothing left soon.
I don't know why people feel that this is acceptable, and I've seen it so frequently recently, but it's when you've got a premium car, an Audi, a BMW, Mercedes, and they've got budget tyres on. And not only budget tyres, but there might be tyres of different makes on each corner. There might be part warns that get put on the car. If you cannot afford to put a good, solid set of premium or ultra premium tyres on a car that is quite powerful, which is safety first and foremost, these cars come from the manufacturer with a certain brand and a certain type of tyre for safety, for the power output of that car. If you're putting crap tyres on, if you've got an M car with ling-longs on it, you're asking for trouble. Now, obviously, I'm talking about higher powered premium vehicles here. I'm not talking about a 500 quid banger that you've just bought off Facebook Marketplace. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let me know if you've seen anything like this recently.
It's Mother's Day here in the UK today, and I've been feeling really compelled that I want to jump on and send a message to midlife women that don't have children, that aren't mothers. And whether that's through a choice, like it is for me, or whether it just hasn't happened for you, I really wanted to acknowledge you today from my heart to yours, that it can be particularly triggering. It can be triggering on any day, but when we see mothers being celebrated, as they should be, celebrated, it can really bring home that we don't have children. And I think particularly at midlife, as we're coming to the end of our reproductive years, whether we've been able to have children or not, it can cause a lot of grief. And we've come a long way in society, I believe, but we can still feel like we're on the periphery of society. You know, us women, we're told that we're supposed to have children, that it's the natural instinct, and that can be really, really hard for all of us, regardless of the situation that we find ourselves in. So it was just a message really to say, I see you, I acknowledge the pain that you might be going through today, and I'm really sending you so much love.
What the fuck is going on in the UK? Childcare costs, horrendous. Car insurance, horrendous. Shopping, double horrendous. Like, everything costs a fucking fortune. Now, luckily, I'm in a position where I can afford it. What are people doing? Yeah, haven't got much money. What the fuck? All our bills are rising, but what if you've not got a little bit of money to make up for that bill that's increasing? Then what do you do? I am literally fed up with this country. I just want out. I mean, I know nowhere else is perfect, but just the cost of living is getting ridiculous. And then actually, living's just poor. Like, people, I feel like people are just surviving. Every other day, I am seeing people posting that they are just working to survive. They've got nothing to show for the money that they're earning. It's just a sad, sad existence, and I'm not fucking here for it. That is why I started making income online. I started making income online so I can live a better lifestyle, so that I do not have to slave away for a paycheck that doesn't go far. I need to fucking wake up. We're living in a digital era. We're going into 2025. The world is changing. If you do not change with it, you're going to get left behind, and you're going to live such a miserable, miserable life. It's time to work smarter, not harder.
From brick. It might look like it from the outside, but these are not brick construction flats. Same as these houses here. They look brick from the outside, but none of them are brick construction. All of these buildings are timber construction.
I don't know when we've decided to adopt the American way of building houses. I don't know when we've decided to adopt building firm, brick, solid houses that lasted the war with wood. This is why I will always be a big preacher about joining the construction industry, because I'm telling you guys, we're all gonna experience this shortage of workmanship, shortage of tradesmen. We're all gonna experience it one way or the other. I'm telling you, if it's not you, it's gonna be someone you know who's gonna be buying a new build that in 6 months' time they're having to deal with mold issues. And if it's not mold, if it's not mold, it's the roof. It's the bloody roof. And Lord will have it, a lot of people are finding out they're paying like what, 400k, 300k for a brand new house. The house ain't even made out of bricks, bro. It ain't even made out of bricks like we saw. Like,
you know it's bad when being middle class means you can afford the heating or the mortgage, but not both. And politicians, they just shrug and say, it's the market. Well, the market's broken, and it's eating the very people who built it. Britain, where you work your whole life for the privilege of renting someone else's dream. I will see you on the next video. Hopefully you can afford your rent or mortgage in the meantime. Cheerio.